Section 5.4, finding linear equations. Okay, we actually did this a little bit back in Chapter 3. What we're going to do here in Chapter 5 is we're going to expand on it a bit. All right, so back in Chapter 3, I might have said something like this. Find the equation of the line. Through the points. How about through 0, -3 with slope 2/5. All right, well, what you needed to recognize is you know the slope, and you have 0, -3. That's the y-intercept. You know it's the y-intercept because x is 0. The y-intercept always has x equals 0. So we used our formula, y equals mx plus b, and all we had to do was plug in. Y equals m was 2/5, x plus -3. I guess I would write that as y equals 2/5 x minus 3. Okay, so those are the kind of problems we did back in Chapter 3. I pretty much specifically gave you the intercept, pretty much specifically gave you the slope, and you found the equation of the line. What we're going to do in this section is we're going to make it a little bit more difficult. For example, let's just take a look at one. Find the equation of the line through 0, 4 and 2, 8. All right, well, this one's a little bit more difficult because I don't specifically tell you what the slope is. The good news is I gave you 2 points. If I give you 2 points, we can find the slope. Remember your formula for slope? M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So we find the slope. We have 8 minus 4 over 2 minus 0. 8 minus 4 is 4 over 2, which is 2. So our slope is 2. And once again, I do know the b number. B is the number 4 because once again, there's our y-intercept. We know it's the y-intercept because it's 0, comma, something. So once again, I simply use y equals mx plus b. My answer would be y equals 2x plus 4. Okay, so that one was fairly simple still. Not a lot changed. I still gave you the intercept. I didn't give you the slope, but you were able to figure out the slope pretty quickly. Let's take it up another step. The next step is I'm going to give you 2 points, but I'm not going to give you the intercept. All right, so example through. Here's our 2 points. 1, comma, -5 and 3, comma, 7. Okay, once again, I want to find the equation of the line. Anytime you see those directions, find the equation of the line. You need to know 2 things. You need to know the slope, and you need to know at least 1 point. Okay, well, I have 2 points here, but I don't know the slope, but I know how to figure it out. M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I plug in 7 minus -5 over 3 minus 1. That's 12 over 2. That's 6. So my slope is 6. What I don't know this time is I don't know the intercept. So here's how you figure it out. Y equals mx plus b. Oh, why do I not know the intercept? Well, in order to know the b number, in order to know the intercept, one of these 2 points would have to have 0 in the x spot. Neither of them does. Neither of them has 0 in the x spot, so I do not know the b number. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to plug 6 in for my m. Y equals 6x plus b. Then what we do is we pick one of the 2 points. Doesn't matter which one, whichever one you like better. I'm going to pick the second one, just because it has all positive numbers. That's my choice. And I plug it in. So y is 7, and x is 6. So notice what that gives me. That gives me a little equation that only has the letter b in it. I can solve. 7 equals 18 plus b. Subtract 18 on both sides. -11 equals b. Okay, so here's my final answer. My final answer would be y equals mx plus b. Y equals m we figured out to be 6, and b was minus 11. All right, a couple more examples for this section. How about, again, through the points, 2, 7, and 1, not 1, negative 1, 6. Okay, pretty much the same as the last problem. I don't know the slope, I don't know the intercept, so I gotta find them. M is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So that's 6 minus 7 over minus 1 minus 2. That's negative 1 over negative 3, which is 1/3. All right, this time we get our slope to be a fraction. That happens. We live with it. But we're going to see that makes things a little bit harder. Y equals mx plus b. I have y equals 1/3 x plus b. I pick one of my 2 points. It doesn't matter which one. I'm going to pick the first one this time. So I plug 7 in for y and 2 in for x. So 7 equals 2/3 plus b. Subtract 2/3. So b is 7 minus 2/3. Think of 7 as being 7 over 1. That's 21/3 minus 2/3. That's 19/3. Okay, so you can see what I didn't like so much about having b turn out to be a fraction. When m turned out to be a fraction. When m turned out to be a fraction, it made finding b a little bit harder. So my final answer would be y equals m was 1/3 x plus b 19/3. Okay, so I'm going to give you an alternative method. And the alternative method is to use a different formula. So we have a formula called the point slope formula. And it looks like this. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And personally, I use this formula use when 2 things happen. 1, I don't know b, and 2, m is a fraction. So that's when I use this formula. Now, truthfully, you never, ever, ever need to use this formula. You can do just like I did in the previous example. You get a fraction, you deal with it, you plug it in and work with it. But I think this way is easier. That's why I like it. So I'm going to do the same problem again. So I would have 2 comma 7 and negative 1 comma 6. Once again, I would find the slope. I'm not going to work all through that again. We get slope as a third. All right, so I look at my problem. I notice I do not know the intercept because I don't have a 0 in the next place, and my slope is a fraction. So when I see those 2 things happen, I use this formula. So here's my answer. Y minus y1. I pick one of the y numbers. Doesn't matter which one. I'm going to use 7. Y minus 7 equals m is 1/3 times x minus my x number 2. And I leave my answer just like that. I didn't see any directions that told me I needed to simplify. If I wanted to simplify, I guess I could. I could distribute the 1/3 through and then add 7 to the other side, but I don't see where that helps a whole lot. I could. If I wanted to use my graphing calculator, if you have one, and I was going to graph this, I would just write this way, 1/3 times x minus 2 plus 7. I would write it that way and let the calculator deal with the fractions and distributing. It'll do it. No problem. Okay? All right, last example. Find the equation of the line through 4, negative 6, parallel to y equals minus 3/5 x plus 1. All right, so here's the big difference this time. This time I didn't give you 2 points, I only gave you 1 point. And I gave you this thing parallel to. You need to remember something special about parallel lines. Parallel lines have exactly the same slope. So what I do is I look at this line over here that was given to me, and I find its slope. And I see the slope sitting right there, m equals -3/5. So there's how I figure out my slope this time. I use my fact about parallel lines. All right, so I have my point over here. My point is not the intercept. My slope is a fraction. My opinion is I'm going to use this formula, y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So y minus y1, that's y minus -6, that's y plus 6, equals slope, -3/5, times x minus the x1. So there's my answer. And notice I don't need to mess with the fractions. And that's the whole advantage of using this alternative formula. This alternative formula allows you to solve problems that have slope being a fraction, but never really having to add, subtract, multiply, or divide fractions at all. That's always a bonus.